Okay, thanks for joining us on our webinar today. Brenda, I'll let you kick things off here.
Okay, thank you, Murray. Well, good morning. My name is Brenda Mowbray. I am the Customer Manager for Accurus Solutions. Welcome to our April webinar, the first of this year. You will see more invitations coming as we plan to have at least 2 more in May and June and then take a break until the fall. We have a mixed group of attendees today, so the presentation will be fairly high level to ensure each of you gain some knowledge from the investment that you are making today. If you have comments or questions, please put them in the chat box and we will follow up with each of you in the next week or two. Our speakers today are Murray Quibell, the President of Accurus, and Steve Swenson, the Director of Business Solutions. I'll turn it over to Murray.
Thanks, Brenda. Thanks for the introduction here. Okay, here's the agenda for today. We have a hard stop with 30 minutes here. So we're going to cover a lot of information here in 30 minutes. For those who know us, I'm Murray Quibell. I'm the President of Accurus Solutions. Accurus, we're a gold certified Acumatica partner based in Western Canada. We're very proud to represent Acumatica and proud to introduce 2023 R1. Regarding the agenda, what we're going to do is just go through a few of the Acumatica highlights and what you've seen here, and I'm going to show you the agenda here. As we take you on a tour of the new version, we're going to follow some main themes around usability, platform, and industry features. So we're going to break it down like that. So regarding usability, we'll go through some workflow, user options, finance and CRM features, that kind of thing. Under the platform, I know many of you are interested in the release of Canadian Payroll, so we'll hit that pretty early in the agenda here. We'll go through some tasks, Gmail, Teams integration, and things like that. Again, industry highlights now. What we'll do with that is we'll break them down by the core industry additions that Acumatica has. So distribution and commerce, construction projects, and manufacturing. Of course, no presentation from Accurus would be complete without a live demonstration from Steve. And so we've got a few minutes scheduled with Steve, and he'll take us through some manufacturing and project-based workflows featuring some of the new dashboards and side panels and that kind of thing. And like Brenda said, we are going to cover off, I've got about 30 slides here to hit on some of the main features. We want to make sure, take notes, make sure that you list your follow-up actions, and we've got some resources at the end that we will share with you. But the main message is to reach out with us, look at the resources, and then determine what areas you want to dig into further. Like I said, we're not going to get that much detailed into any of these features, but I wanted to introduce you here around, hey, what we've been up to, what Acumatica has been up to recently. So with that, let me just carry on here. So here's those themes. So usability, platform, industry-focused functionality here. So Acumatica, as I've spoke many times of, Acumatica is a technology company. They never stop. These key themes drive their innovation, and it's common across their product teams and their product releases. So under the categories of usability, we're always looking at ways to streamline how people enter data, enhance the user interface, and again, how can we use technology to help you get more work done? That's what we're ultimately trying to do. With the platform then, that's the technology platform. Acumatica at its core is a platform upon which all the applications and modules are built on. We are adopting current web standards, which always are updating to enhance usability and security and new technology that's coming down the pipe. Again, industry-focused functionality. What we've seen, again, Acumatica has standardized and organized itself, both with teams and product releases, around specific vertical markets. And that includes commerce, distribution, manufacturing, and construction. And so what we see with that is that as they've organized like that, we're seeing some really rapid enhancements in specific functionality relevant to those vertical markets. And that's all about being accountable and really trying to drive industry features, that we might see with other products that have been around for a long time. Acumatica is not a product that's just sitting there milking its existing platform. Again, they're pushing new functionality to make sure that we're addressing reporting and specific vertical market features that customers really need to do to run their business. Okay, so as we kind of go, like I said, I'm going to break down a bunch of information here. on the releases, but this is the first area of additional information that I just want to draw your attention to. This has existed with all the Acumatica releases. So Acumatica releases 2 major releases each year. Within each of them, there's a whole community page under the customer portal as well. So you have access to both of those as users and the public also. There's a lot of information included in the release notes and a little other documents that list enhancements and things like that. So this is always a good place to go to determine, hey, what do I need to know? What is going to affect my business? With anything, as we look at upgrades and new features and stuff like that, it's always important to plan and to think about how can I use the software to help me improve my business and my everyday functionality. So work with us on that and we'll help you through any of that. Okay, so I mentioned there's going to be a lot of slides and a lot of pieces of functionality. This is the busiest slide I'm going to show you. But what this shows the Acumatica 2023 R1 highlights. On the left here, these are broken down by usability and technology, and then it gets into the modules around functionality of financials and CRM. And on the right, it's the industry functionality related to retail commerce, distribution, manufacturing, and construction. So what I'm going to do, the areas I've highlighted here, I'm not going to get into all these things here, of course, but the areas I've highlighted, I'll show you a couple of little additional slides and get into a little bit more specific functionality. In some of the other areas, like I mentioned on manufacturing, construction, those would be areas that Steve focuses a little bit more in his live demonstration piece. So with that, I'm going to with the yellow items here, I'm going to highlight a few things around business events, user timeouts, user features, financials. Canadian Payroll is here. You'll note the stars here. And then at the bottom here, Canadian Payroll does remain in a controlled release. I'll talk specifically about what that means and what features are available, timing and that kind of stuff. And then around CRM, a little bit of additional functionality around Gmail and Teams integration to make sure that the user experience around the desktop applications is enhanced a little bit more. Okay, so as we drill in a little bit into more, again, I'm going to fly through these slides in about within 10 minutes, I've got about 20 slides to go through. So I'm not going to spend that much time on each. Business events, there's a key feature that's been around for a couple of releases, and it just gets better all the time. So now we've got we can trigger it based on an action. Now, for people that maybe haven't seen a lot of Acumatica, that might not make a lot of sense, but for us, it's excellent to be able to, we can use business events to automate, to trigger actions upon other actions. And what it does, it allows us to deliver some enhanced workflow and functionality in areas where in previous software applications and even previous versions of Acumatica, we had to consider customizations. So business events have been a huge benefit and it just keeps getting better. This is user timeout. I just called this one out here a little bit. Some people get frustrated maybe if Acumatica logs them out after a certain amount of time, and to be able to edit that, you used to have to edit a web config file, which wasn't the easiest thing to do. And now we've got some user features that allow you to control it by user. So that's been a nice little feature that they've added. Just briefly around financials. Again, I'm not going to get into all these things. There's a couple of there's a few things that might be interesting. The copy sub account, just a little usability feature. Tax only lines on tax bills. So there's been a little bit of an increase in how we can handle tax. So we can have taxable lines and non-taxable lines. Adds a little bit more functionality in terms of recording data from say bills such as a courier bill that has taxes all over the place. Helps us manage it a little bit more. Tax zone validation based on address. It's a validation so that you can't have a conflict with having two different tax zones for the same address. So a couple of little enhancements there that have added some functionality. So a few other report enhancements, some EFT, ACH enhancements. Again, there's just to help things move along a little bit better and allow users to process things a little bit more streamlined. Canadian Payroll. So I know, again, a lot of people on the call here are people that are interested in Canadian Payroll. Either you're using Acumatica or evaluating it and going, hey, geez, sure be great to have Canadian Payroll. Well, yeah, we've been waiting for that for a long time. A little bit of background, Acumatica has had the US payroll now out for a couple of of years. And then Canadian payroll has been worked on for a while. It's worked on through the Canadian Development Office based in Quebec. So we've got Canadians working on the actual module. So that's been really nice to see. However, it's taken a little longer than we wanted. So like I say, it does remain in a controlled release. The status of that, what that means is that you can buy it. The software is available. It's just acknowledging that it's the first release of it. We do expect there to be more functionality, and we are expecting a general release in 2023 R2. That's our expectation. We would like to see that hit, and I would expect it would. What it means is that there's some quite a bit of features that we have here now. You can see the features that I've listed here, and it covers off the main earning codes and deduction codes, the reporting, including T4s and ROIs. That's all part of the application. The paid time off. There's quite a few advanced features that you might not expect in a version 1. So we'd like to see all that. Of course, the EFT support, that's part of the Canadian localization. It's a little bit of configuration if you're not using that currently, but it's part of the application for accounts payable payments that's just been extended to payroll. So that's all part of that. Again, there's a lot of features there. Our recommendations of this, given the status it is that take some time to evaluate what your business requirements are. Make sure to document your specific pay codes and deduction codes, things like that. And then we can evaluate that in the software. We can get sandboxes to evaluate it, or we can do it in demo or test environments. So just work with us on that and to evaluate it, and then we will arrange a time frame for when you can actually purchase it and get it going. A couple of other resources here. This is a 7.5-minute video that Doug Johnson has prepared. It's pretty good to walk you through all the functionality. So I'm not going to run it. I'm not going to get into the details a little bit further, but have a look at this video. It covers off the main features that I just listed there. A couple things quickly on CRM, task management. So, there's a few things like that. And tasks, these are not project tasks. There's tasks that assign work to different people and track that. We use that internally. So there's a couple of enhancements with that we find interesting. Improving quote to customer. What that is improving, you can do a quote for a business account that's not yet a customer. This is a quick screen around the task management. So there's a little bit more functionality to complete and follow up tasks, and then another dashboard that exists out of the box rather than having to build it on your own. Quickly, as I fly through things, Microsoft Teams integration. Again, what we're trying to do is enhance the user experience. Someone who lives and breathes in Outlook or Office 365 can now natively, pass data back and forth with Acumatica. Same with Gmail. This exists as a customization project that's available on the Gmail, on the Google Marketplace. And again, there's some integration between contacts and email with Acumatica. So some nice little features there that they've introduced with CRM. Okay. Rapidly switching over to distribution. So now I'm going to kind of feature some industry stuff. I've kind of grouped distribution along with commerce. There's some, most of the functionality that I'm going to call out here is really shared with commerce, and it's relevant for that. So that's kind of why I'm grouping them together. A couple of things I'll highlight here is the line operation by quantity. What that means is you can have pluses and minuses on the same, and it enhances some workflow around that. And one of the specific use cases is the counter sales, where you have sales and returns with on the same screen. A few other things that I'll just call out here is tax calculation on sales order. You have the option to disable that, and that's works really well when orders are coming from an e-commerce system where you don't want the system calculating taxes and having it pennies off a little. So that's another feature there. Template items using optional variants. That's been a feature we've been looking for a while, and so we're really excited about that. If you're not using it, you might not be sure what that is, but I've got a screen to kind of break that down a little bit. And multiple totes. These are just a few features I'll call out here. There's a few other things that I've got listed here that we're not going to get into any further details today. So just kind of going back, this is the order operation by line type. So you can see in this example, we've got positives and negatives on the same line. So that's what the great use case of that is, a counter sale. So maybe you've got a sales order, you've got people walking up and they're returning stuff and buying that. So what you're not sure when they're doing it if it's going to be a positive or negative, but you can log a counter sale as this mixed order type, and then that will either drive a customer payment or a refund. So that's kind of just a little workflow enhancement that helps you out if that's the nature of your business. This is a quick screen about the tax calculation. So again, we've got some options now to disable that. So again, that's based on order type and based on the nature of your business. And if you just don't want taxes calculating for items that are otherwise taxable, then this is a nice little feature for that. Template items using optional variants. So what the issue here is that we used to have item classes where you would set up variants as attributes, but you have to have them to be the same for all items of that item class. So the restriction was that what if you had a new size or a new color of some kind of a consumer good that didn't apply to other items of that class? What you had to do before was set up another item class, and it became a little bit hard to manage. Let's say if you wanted to still have everything part of the item class, but you just had, certain other items that had different variants. So this has been a key feature to really enhance the integration with e-commerce. And so it's maybe a subtle one if you're not using it, but it's really important for us and we're happy to see it. So it gives you the option to set up optional variants. And then here you've got, tag here, whether it's optional or not. And then as you're creating all the item variants, there's a button to do that. Then it will create them all with those exceptions. And then you can edit them after there. So that's been really nice. Multiple totes. So when you're picking goods, you may not be sure if it fits in one tote or more. This gives you the opportunity to add multiple totes on the fly when you're picking goods. Speaking of on the fly, I'm flying through a few more slides here, and then I'll be wrapping up my piece. So switching over into construction. A couple of things we'll highlight here are some reports and inquiry improvements. There's a few other workflows around joint check processing. So you've got different and joint payees. So you got different vendors you want to pay related to the same project. Lien waivers. So if you have holdbacks and things like that, there's different workflows around that. But a couple of things I'll highlight here, just some report improvements. This is a busy slide with a lot of reports. These are all the reports that have been modified in some fashion. Here's a little bit of some of the modifications, look and feel around fonts and stuff. The other thing would be just some variables and parameters to help you run the reports. These are just a couple of samples. Steve may feature some of these, but just these are some examples of some of the modifications to those reports. And just mobile apps. So again, trying to log progress worksheets and status from the mobile app, there's a few enhancements here. So it starts with this screen. Again, all the stuff on the mobile app is controlled by access rights and users. But as you kind of go through it, there's a little bit of additional workflow and it helps you, log completed quantities and stuff a little bit better. Wrapping up pretty quickly here, just towards manufacturing. So again, Steve is going to feature a little bit of this in his section here. A couple of things we'll call out here: side panels. So what that, if you've got some data that you're viewing on screen, but you want to know what the status of it, Steve will show you some examples of how the side panels really are enhanced. And so there's some enhanced dashboards and ways to view that in manufacturing. A few other improvements around usabilities, a little bit on the workflow, things around, processing materials and labor and navigating around it. They've addressed some of that, and they'll continue to do that. So that's the whole message, is that Acumatica is continuing to look for areas of improvement around workflow, data, technologies, all to help you as a user get more done and use the technology to your advantage. So with that, I'm going to stop share and we'll switch over to Steve here. So he's going to take us through a couple of live demonstrations, some workflow, and some just some options around how to manage project and manufacturing stuff. So I'm going to stop share here and we'll switch gears here.
Hi, everyone. Just sharing my screen now so we can go through a couple of things. And I'm really going to touch on some of the areas that Murray mentioned before. I think everybody should be able to see my screen now. What I've got is Acumatica has done a lot of work over the years on increasing the usability and workflow and dashboards functionality. So where I wanted to start in here is just a production manager is got all of this information at their fingertips of what they need to do. What Acumatica has enhanced is if I click onto one of these tiles to say there are 28 production orders that I need to work on or I need to deal with, I can take a look at these production orders now, and it's opening up a second tab for me. And what I've got now is I see all of my different tabs, and I see I have tabs quickly to be able to see all the different statuses, or I can go over to all records. But where they've added the functionality now is instead of having to click onto each one of these and open up a screen and get information, I can simply go over to the right-hand side, click on the side panel, and as you see, it slides across and opens up on the right-hand side. And on mine here, it's going to go out, and because I was on line 1, production order number 45, it loaded production order maintenance and loaded up that information. So I can quickly see what's there, and I can see what's happening with this production order. What are all my totals? What's everything going on? But what's really nice about these now is I can simply click on the next line, and the system goes over and it refreshes this side panel now to say this is production order 43. So now I see the information I need to on production order 43, and I could continue going down. You may also notice that as I was switching, there's now 5 side panels to click on. The other one, the original one, only had production order, maintenance, details, and the bill of material. The second order, the production order I looked at, is linked to a sales order, so it added in a couple more columns for me. But I clicked on to production details, and now right from this screen, I'm seeing what are all the different assembly operations that I've got, what are the materials that I need. I can see all of that information, and I could click on to the sales order and see right directly this production order is being built for a specific sales order. And it loads that information onto the screen here for me. And each of these different ones that's on here has the ability to show you, okay, there's the sales order, and I can see this inventory ID. And if I needed to, I could scroll across and you would see this is where it references production order 43. So that sales order has been linked to it. So somebody created a sales order, built a production order for it. So when this production order is finished, I would be able to ship that sales order. But this allows me to be able to drill in and see them as I go. If I click onto different ones as I look at them, I can click onto this line down here, and you'll notice that things changed in here again. The sales order disappeared, but I end up with a project screen. Because this production order was being built specifically for a project instead of a sales order, it enabled the tabs for me, the side panels for me. And now I can click onto those ones and see the information that I'm looking for. Yeah, so I'm going through here, and this allows me to see, this is my project, this is what's my revenue budget on this? What do I have a cost budget? So this one here, I'm building a widget. It shows me that on here. And when I'm on this one, I can also go onto my project, and similar to the sales order, I can see production order 17 was available here. This allows the production order manager or people in production to be able to have quick and easy access to these different places. I don't have to actually be opening and closing screens as I go. So that's one of the benefits of it. The other thing that I have, and I could always just close this window down now, and I would be back on my production manager dashboard. But I also have the option now of, they've enhanced it even further. So when I click onto a production order, and I'm looking at the production order maintenance screen, you'll see on the right-hand side that they've added in 5 different production order side panels to this specific production order. So I could click on my production details and see it as a side panel. Similar, I could have clicked the button at the top, which is the way we've always had to do it, and that would open a second screen for me, or a second tab. But now I get to see this production order, all the details of what I'm looking for, but I can also look at my critical materials. I don't have to be opening up separate screens. I can be in here and saying, these are my critical materials. And I can, if I need to see more of this, I can slide this over, make it a little wider. Shows me what quantity I have remaining, what quantity I have available for me, and it shows me that I'm short of all of these items. So it's a quick way for me to be looking at a production order and see on my side panel what I need to be ordering. I can also go on to MRP results for the item, and MRP is the material requirements planning. And the MRP process goes out and says, for this item, is it available? Like, what are all the items, the transactions in the system? So I can quickly see that there are sales orders and production orders for this same item, and I can see all of the information necessary for all of those. And as I go down my list, as I work through my production order and I start issuing materials and charging labor to my manufacturing, I have the ability to quickly see a production order analysis. So I can see my percent complete at each of my different steps. I can see my recorded hours at each step, cost variance, and I can see how I'm doing. So right now, my cost variance is I'm $80,000 under because I haven't issued any materials to it yet. But it quickly lets me see, as I'm working through production orders, I get to see how did I do. So if I jumped to a different production order and said, let's go to number 17 because it's finished, my side panel over here now refreshes and shows me that I'm 100% complete and I had a cost variance, a minor cost variance of a few cents, a percentage. So it was very small, but I get to see it was actually a 1 cent cost variance. So it gives me the ability to track all of that information. So it's handy to do it that way. I can also do the same thing when I'm in projects. The project manager can do the same thing. When I go in and select my active projects, I do get side panels as well. So I get a list of all of my active projects to open up here. And I would have a side panel on the side with the same benefit, where if I opened it, it would show me all the project details about the project that I'm highlighted on. And I'm getting a bit of a delay loading my information here, but I loaded it all up and now I can simply click onto another one and it does the same thing in my project. So that's one of the features that Acumatica has been adding in, is more usability, to be able to see that information quicker without having to open and close screens to get access to all of my data.
And what we want to do is I'll turn it over to you, Brenda, for just wrap up and key takeaways from here.
Okay. Thank you very much, Murray and Steve. What a bunch of really good information that can really start to help our businesses in monitoring and improving their performance. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will be following up with each of you to see what, if there's anything in there that got your interest that we want to do some further investigation into. And on the bottom of this slide, you will see some additional resources. So I highly encourage you to go out there and take a look at our website, our YouTube channel, the Acumatica customer portal, the Acumatica community, and just acumatica.com will have a tremendous amount of information. One of our core values is continuous improvement. So like I say, we will follow up to see what opportunities interested you in this webinar. So thank you very much for joining us today and have a great day.